Hey there, Danielle Matthews here. I'm coming to you live from Florida, and today is Monday, so it is book club day, and we are finishing out The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This is a book that I have thoroughly enjoyed reading with all of you and discussing, and oh my gosh, I was going back through, well, I just did that really fast, but the amount of underlines and side notes and exclamation points and wows, this book truly is, the person that recommended it said if you could read one book in your life, this is the book to read. And I would have to agree. So if you are joining me live for book club, let me know that you're here when you arrive. And for those of you that have been following along and reading with us, we're on page 180 and we're reading to the end of the book, page 191. So if this is your first time coming in, don't worry. You can just jump into the conversation here. Each part of this book really is a standalone conversation. When you put it all together, it's fabulous. Hey, Lou. Thanks for letting me know you're here. Hey, Fritz. Hey, Karen. Hey, Anand. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to be with all of you. Good morning. Good morning. I hope for those of you in the U.S., hey, Angela, that you had a fabulous Thanksgiving. I know that I took several days off. I just completely disconnected, and it was really, really nice. So, I did read this though, and then I read it a second time, and then I read it a third time because I really had to sit with some of this. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, always a lot of this is very deep. But he talked about transforming illness, and he really talked about something I know Fritz, you and I have talked about a lot, which is, do you have to go through tragedy, through intense things in order to become enlightened, in order to awaken to more? Hey, Marie, good morning. And watching live from Mumbai. There we go. We've got India present. Happy to hear that. So that's kind of the conversation for this this section of the book. And I want to start with this question of illness. And he says, the whole book is written as questions and him kind of answering. And the question that's posed to him was something along the lines of, well, I don't understand. If you're supposed to just surrender, but if you surrender to having an illness, doesn't that mean you're giving up on trying to get better? Which this is where, right, these spiritual teachings, when you start to apply them, it gets murky because you're like, wait, I don't understand. Like, how am I just supposed to accept, that I'm sick? Aren't I supposed to do something about it? I can't just surrender to this or it will take my life. And so the question is, is that the same as giving up? And what Eckhart Tolle points out, and I think this was something he sort of weaved this thread throughout the entire book, is that illness is a part of your life situation. It's not you. And so don't identify to it. Don't identify with it. He goes on to say the belief in a label that someone attaches to your condition keeps the condition in place. It actually empowers it and makes a seemingly solid reality out of a temporary imbalance. So if you were to look at illness, it's just a temporary imbalance in the system, not to identify and say, oh, I have COPD. Oh, I have autism. Oh, I have ADHD. Oh, I have restless leg syndrome. And he says, no, instead, what you can do, rather than giving it a name, because that gives it power, right? What we focus on, our energy flows to. And so if we focus on the name of identifying with it, we're actually giving power to it. And this is the part I read like 3-4 times. So I was like, wait, what is he getting at? Because on some level, yeah, you need to do something if you have an illness, but what do you do? So he says, number 1, don't label it. And just put a 1 in the chat if you are cool with that. Put a 2 in the chat if you have questions on that. But I think that part makes sense. Don't give it a label. Don't feed into it. Just sort of let it be. All right, just recognize, all right, something's off in my system, but I don't have to give it a name, because if I give it a name, now I've done something. So put a 1 in the chat if you're with me. I think you guys are a little bit delayed from me. That's okay. There it is. They're the ones. If you can pop up and be live with me, that'd be great. But Karen's got it. Lou's got it. Okay. So then he says, by focusing on this instant and refraining from labeling it mentally, illness is reduced to one of several of these factors. So he says, okay, well, if I don't label it, you also can't deny that something's here, right? And he says, I'm not asking you to deny it. He's saying, what is the thing that's present? Is it physical pain? Is it weakness? Is it discomfort? Is it a disability? Be present with that. Surrender to the pain now. All right, he says that is what you surrender to. You do not surrender to the idea of the illness. You do not let the illness just take you over and go, oh, I have cancer, I'm done. You say, okay, there's something off, in my chest. There's something off in my, wherever it's showing up. And surrender to knowing that it's there. And then remember, surrender means you accept what's present. Okay, I accept that something's off here. Now what can I do? Right? So surrender does not transform what is. Surrender transforms you. It transforms your inner world. And he says when you are transformed, your whole world is transformed because the world is only a reflection, right? Which we've spoken about a lot. But most people resist. What happens with most people is that when you are ill or disabled or not feel that you have, you feel that you failed in some way, he says, don't feel that you failed if an illness comes. Don't feel guilty. Don't blame life. Don't say life treated me unfairly. Don't blame yourself either. Oh, it's because I ate that food. It's because I did that thing. What he says is all of those things are resistance. If you blame, if you get upset, you're resisting the now, which creates more conflict within. He says, no. Use a major illness as a chance for enlightenment, as a chance to connect with the thing that is beyond you, because you realize this illness is not you. You are the thing that is there before, during, and after it. You are witnessing the illness in the body. You're the divine made manifest, so you can't be it. All right, this is nuanced. So if you've got questions, put them in the chat, because we can spend some time on this. But basically, see what happens when you start to become present with what is, when you're present with the pain, when you allow it to be there, when you allow the discomfort to be there, when you say, okay, I've had a stroke and now I can't use this side of my body. Can you just be with that without wanting it to be different? And he says, look, you become then an alchemist. And this is where you start to transmute, right? Alchemy, like this base metal becoming gold. This is a chance, this is an opportunity. If you have an illness, if you have a sickness, if you have a disease, you can transform the suffering into consciousness, the disaster into enlightenment. This is a chance. It's a massive opportunity. Morning, Charlotte. And I love this. He said, basically, did anyone get triggered by this? Because if you had an illness currently, right now, present in your system, I could see how reading this would be very confusing. And potentially very upsetting. All right. But what he says is, are you seriously ill and feeling angry now about what I've just said? And if you are, if you're listening to this and you are, this is what he says next, then that is a clear sign that the illness has become part of your sense of self and that you are now protecting your identity as well as protecting the illness. That is a hard pill to swallow, but an accurate pill. I've seen it in my work, right? Many of you I work with in ASEA. This is a revolutionary health technology. It helps people where they need it. Helps rebuild cells that are dysfunctioning, that aren't operating properly, are signaling poorly, and it gets them going again, which means that if you've got something off in the body, it's going to bring it back into alignment. And some people are so identified with that thing that's off that they can't even look at this as an option because, well, who am I without that? So if you are getting triggered by this, he says, like this is an indicator light that you've identified with it. The condition that is labeled as illness has nothing to do with who you truly are. You are more than that. And that's the whole idea is sometimes when we bang our head against the wall so hard, we finally have to surrender, right? And if life has served you an illness, it's served you a disease, potentially it is an opportunity for you. I wouldn't say potentially, I would say it is. If you choose to walk through the door, it is a doorway for you to be able to surrender, to be able to connect with that which is bigger than you, right? To connect with the divine. That's what it's really all about. And so he says, disasters are actually a good thing. All right? Difficult times are actually a good thing because this alchemy can happen. It's an opportunity. The door opens. So on a personal level, that could be illness or disease. But now he starts to get into like, well, what about for the masses? right? We've talked about a lot during this book that when the masses wake up, we'll live on a very different planet. When all of us are more conscious, so many of us are unconscious. The ego mind is running things, right? There's fear, there's control, there's just intense things, there's grief, there's suffering, because that's all the ego mind world. But when you realize you're more than that, and you can get to that, and you can learn to master your inner world and keep the ego under control, beautiful things open up. But he said most people won't just get there. They won't just opt for it. They don't realize the mind is the problem, and they're so attached to it. There's no hope for them to become conscious. But he says the hope comes when disaster strikes, which is kind of, you might think like, well, it's a little bit ironic, right? Like the worst thing becomes the best thing. And he says only a critical limit situation has the potential to crack the hard shell of the ego and force them to surrender. This is what he's talking about with the masses. He says a limit situation arises when through some disaster, some drastic upheaval, some deep loss or suffering, your whole world is shattered and doesn't make sense anymore. It's an encounter with death, whether it's physically or psychologically. And he says the egoic mind, the creator of this world, collapses. And out of the ashes of that old world, a new world can then come into being. And sometimes I don't wonder if that's what's going on the planet right now. Right? We collectively went through a really intense time, 2020, 2021, 2022, right, with the pandemic. So many people were rattled, like completely rattled. It was a big disaster. It made them question. It made them look at things differently, right? All these things they had taken for granted. I don't need to get into all of that, but I think you realize. And I just look at that and I go, wow, isn't it interesting? We might be freaking out going, oh my gosh, the darkness, it's intense. I don't know about this. But this is the chance for alchemy. This is the chance for the door to open. This is the chance for more to come, which is a beautiful thing because that's the only chance for our earth, right? As we've talked about in the book. And he says, however, it doesn't always awaken. So some of you might be scratching your head and going, okay, Danielle, but it's 2023 now. And the world seems to still be going crazy, right? We've got 2 wars going. Well, more than 2 wars, but you know, we've got so much happening. Like, what's going on? What's with all this turmoil? And he says, look, sometimes even a disaster doesn't wake people up, but oftentimes it does get rid of one piece of the ego. He says parts of the ego shell start to break off. And this allows for small amounts of the radiance of the peace within all of us that lays beyond the mind to start to shine through. And so little by little, this is starting to happen. All right. High five me if you're like, give me a 5 in the chat. If you're excited about what's happening with humanity, if this is the truth of it, if disaster, if upheaval, if things kind of shaking, questioning, right? All of this stuff like corruption and all these things that are coming to light, what he's saying is this is actually a good thing because it's going to wake some people up. It's going to get the ego mind to start to shatter in some people. Nice. High five back to you, Charlotte. So some of you are there with me. Others, you might be going, I liked it better when it was calm, right? I liked it better when it was good. But remember this, why I always have this behind me, because there's dark and light in this world. And the darkness will always lead to the light, and the light always to the dark. We need both. The polarity has to exist. It has to. Thanks, Tammy. Hey, Lynn. So what he says is now you can just have a different lens on trauma, right? Whether it's personal or collective, you know. He says, whenever any kind of disaster strikes or something goes seriously, quote unquote, wrong, like illness, like disability, like the loss of a home or the loss of your fortune or some socially, defined identity, the breakup of a close relationship, the death or suffering of a loved one, or your impending death, all of this, he says, know that there is another side to it, that you are just one step away from something incredible. The door has now appeared. If you're experiencing one of these things, the door is now right here. And he says, a complete alchemical transmutation of the base metal of pain and suffering into gold is one step away. It's the step of opening the door and surrendering to what is. And it's here for you. It's here for all of us. That's what it's all about. And he says, with this radiant peace comes the realization, not on the level of the mind, but within the depth of your being, that you are indestructible, that you are immortal. This is no longer a belief, Once you step through that door, once you surrender, there is a knowing that is beyond your mind. It's within your being. And he says it's an absolute certainty that needs no external evidence or proof from some secondary source. Put a 1 in the chat if you have experienced what he's talking about. A complete surrender to the point that you know that you know that you know that there is something beyond this mind. Some of you maybe have dabbled in it. Some of you maybe have gotten there. I can say for me, it happened in April of this year when I went through yoga therapy. And I had a moment where this energy took over my body and I went, it's within me always. I can't be without it. And that knowing, none of you could say anything to me at all whatsoever to shift that. You just can't, because I know from a visceral kinesthetic level, I know that this is real, that there is an energy within my system that's beyond my mind, that is more than me, right? Angela's saying 1, Carol, Lynn, Charlotte, yeah. And if you haven't, that's okay. It's coming, but it requires the death of the mind, which is a scary thing because it's the thing we've identified with our entire life. But I promise you, there is more. And when you connect with the more, it's better than happiness. Like, it's just this sense of peace and knowing and joy and like, wow. And for me, what it's come out as is like, well, this is a playground. Like, we are here to play, okay? And anytime I start to take something seriously, I go, time out. I am just here as an expression of the divine to enjoy all that is here on this planet and have fun as I do it. That's why I'm here. In the moment my mind gets in and things need to be this way, that way, or stress takes over, whatever, I just boop, 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 come back, right? We come back. It's absolutely amazing. And the question that kind of came next in this chapter was like, well, hang on, is it possible that you can like just bypass feeling? Is surrender, like some people I think misdo this because they go, oh, what Danielle's talking about sounds great. Let me just be over here. And I talk about this in Mastery, so we go into it more there, but there's, solving problems through thinking, which is like an inner circle, then feeling, and then being. And a lot of people go from thinking and try to get to being. They just go, oh, it sounds good over here. Let's just be over here. I'm going to just be fine over here, right? It's called a spiritual bypass. Unless you go through the feeling, right? You have to go through it to get to the other side. You have to feel it, right? When you completely surrender, it's because very likely you're feeling some intense pain, some intense letting go. And it's a lot. But that door opens. It opens through feeling. And that's when you get to the being state that isn't known from the mind. It's known from within. It's a knowing that like you can't unknow it. Right? You just can't. So he talks about, being cut off from your feelings is not surrender. That's more like a spiritual bypass where you're going, okay, I'm just not going to feel this because it's uncomfortable. And you go over here into this, happy space. No. You're missing the point. The way out is through. You've got to feel it. You've got to let it flow. You got to be there with it. All right, this is what yoga therapy is all about. He says, if you cannot accept what is outside, then accept what is inside. If you cannot accept the external, accept the internal. Meaning, don't resist the pain. Allow the pain to be there. Surrender to the grief. Surrender to the despair. Surrender to the fear. Surrender to the loneliness. Surrender to whatever the feeling is that's dominating you, that you're wanting to avoid, that you're wanting to maybe move away from. He says that's the thing you have to surrender to. All right? And then you will see the miracle of when you surrender, that it literally just transmutes this deep suffering into peace. It like takes you home into this very peaceful center. This is what we do in yoga therapy. And those of you that were in Mastery, you've experienced this, right? You've had moments in yoga therapy where there's a release because you were with something uncomfortable. And when you did it, it left you. It left you. And it's not coming back, right? Amazing. All right. Wow, we got 10 minutes left. All right, so what else is there? So this whole chapter was so good. I told you, I read it 3 times, and I highlighted all of it. So what else I want to share about? Okay, this one. I put a huge star here. Page 185. He says, there are many pseudo escapes. Work, drinks, alcohol, right? Drugs, anger, projection, suppression. These are all pseudo escapes, right? That we think we're free from. Oh, I just need to vent, right? That's a pseudo escape. You didn't actually deal with it, all right? That's dealing from the thinking mind. He says, when you deny emotional pain, something you do or think, as well as your relationships, become contaminated with it. So if you don't actually deal with it, what happens is now you're seeing life through that anger, through that pain, through that whatever that you didn't actually deal with. It's still lingering. It doesn't go anywhere. And so then you start to look at life differently, and you start to be at a vibrational frequency that attracts in more of the same. So if you're having the same issue again and again and again and again, it's because you didn't deal with it. And it's still there, and it's holding the same frequency, and so you're pulling in the same things again and again and again and again and again and again. Like, people talk about the law of attraction all the time, but people have a hard time with it. Why? Because to hold a high frequency, to hold the space of attracting in everything you want, it's difficult if you haven't dealt with all this stuff, the subconscious stuff that's lingering, that's holding you back, right? The pain you haven't dealt with. He says, when there is no way out, there's still always a way through. All right, you attract and manifest whatever corresponds with your inner state. And so, what do? Don't turn away from the pain. Face it. Feel it. Face it fully. Let it be. Don't think about it, right? Express it if it's necessary, but don't create a script in your mind about it. Well, it came from this and this person, it wasn't fair. It's just like, if there's grief, let there be grief. If you need to cry, let yourself cry. All right, give your attention to the feeling, not to the person, not to the event that created it, not to any of the things, just to the feeling that's stuck there. This is what we do in yoga therapy. This is what we did in Intermittent Mastery with all of you. Is helping you to just be with the stuff so it can go. And then when it's gone, it's gone. And you went through it. You went from thinking to feeling to being. The door opens for you. All right? And at first, it's going to seem like a dark and terrifying place, and you are going to have an urge to run from it. But the truth is, if you just observe it, and you keep putting your attention there, you keep putting your attention on the pain, and you stay alert, and you stay present, all of a sudden, you're bringing light to the darkness. You turn on the light in a dark room, there's no fight that has to happen. It just is there, all right? And this flame is the flame of your consciousness, and it dissolves it. It transmutes it. That's what it's all about. Full attention is full acceptance. That's the surrender. And that's the beautiful thing that in my experience, yoga therapy brought me, and why I wanted to share it with all of you. Because it's just an incredible way to do this. Because what he's sharing, you might say, well, it sounds good, but when the moment comes and it's like something's rising inside of you, you want to push it away. It seems like a lot. But if you have a coach there that says, no, be with it. No, it's okay. Breathe with it one more time. A lot more can move through. For those in mastery, if you want to share your experience with this and that, like, hey, actually on the other side, it was okay, feel free to. It's really powerful. So, the death of the delusion is liberating, right? It's just all this thinking that pain's going to take us over, that fear's going to take us over, that, if I feel this, I'm going to die. You're not. That's an illusion. The mind just thinks that. But it's just an illusion. And when you get rid of that, when you allow yourself to actually feel and you realize, oh, I didn't die. Like, I can handle that and I can handle more. You're solid forever. All right, so the next part of this, he talked about the way of the cross. Had any of you heard of this? I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm not linked into the Christian world. But I'd never heard of this. The way of the cross. And I kind of liked what they're saying. It makes sense to me. But he's saying it's not the only way. But basically, the way of the cross is what they're saying is that basically people found God through surrender, through total acceptance of what is, into which they were forced by intense suffering. So the suffering that Jesus had on the cross, right? So they're saying whatever has caused you so much suffering has also opened you up to finding God. And so the question is, well, how is surrender the same as God? And the reality is, when you get rid of who you're not, right? We just talked about, when you get rid of the mind that says, I can't feel this or I'm going to die, when we let go of that and we allow ourselves to feel, we're brought into this space of being, this space of knowing, this space of peace and love. And that's what he's saying is God, right? He says, he doesn't use the term God because of all of the misrepresentations over the decades of it, but it's really a being, a divine presence, the thing that is no thing, that is everywhere. And Lou says, yes, there's peace beyond understanding. Yeah, that's where you're going. And he says that's the knowing of God, the peace beyond any understanding, the real love, not conditional love, but just the all-accepting, all-allowing, just the beauty of it. That's the realm of being. And it's obscured by the mind. But all of a sudden, when you go through unfathomable suffering and you just finally let go, you have access to unfathomable peace. It's beautiful. But it seems like the hardest thing to get through it. All right? So the worst becomes the best. And he says, at this time, as far as the unconscious majority of humans is concerned, the way of the cross is still the only way. They will only awaken through further suffering, and enlightenment as a collective phenomenon will be predictably preceded by vast upheavals. Strap in, guys. If we want the masses to wake up, evidently there's going to be some upheaval along the way. So you can make the conscious choice, right? This is what Fritz, you and I were talking about. Like, you don't have to go through hell to wake up, right? You don't have to have the difficulty to be able to become more. You can just decide. You can decide without going through the way of the cross. The way of the cross is hard. Had I known, I wouldn't have opted for that. I didn't know. I went the hard way. But you don't have to go the hard way, right? Just wake up to what he's saying. Read this again and again and again. Come back and listen to all the things we've talked about. Right? He says this is the way it can be. Enlightenment consciously chosen means to relinquish your attachment to past and future and to make the now the main focus of your life. Choosing to dwell in the state of presence rather than in time. Right? And you just ask yourself, how much more pain does there need to be before you decide to make the choice? Because it is your choice. Time and pain are inseparable. But the moment you get out of the past, you get out of the future, you come into the now, you've done it. Right? For me, it was my brain injury because I was like, I thought about the future and I got anxious. I thought about the past and I got depressed. I forced myself into the present moment and it was like a door opened and all of a sudden I could be peaceful in the present. And that's been the thing that I've known that hasn't changed. I didn't know about the power of now. I found it. And you guys don't have to go through brain injury, go through whatever. You can just be here now. And you are. So well done. But that's all there has to do. All right. And then the last part of the book was really about, well, do people choose to suffer? Like, what about these people that are in abusive relationships? Like, are they choosing to suffer? And he says, and I thought this was really pertinent, he says, choice implies consciousness. Remember we talked about if something's lingering around you, something you haven't dealt with, it could be a belief that you're not worth more. It could be some association with love and abuse from being young. It could be who knows what that's hanging around you. You're going to attract in at that level constantly. And you don't even know that you're doing it. Like I said, once you realize that the same thing is happening again and again and again, and you wake up to that and you go, oh, whoa, I have a choice here. I can deal with this. But most people are unconscious. Most people have no idea they're creating the misery that surrounds them. They don't know. So you can't get upset with them. You can't say, well, this is your fault. That's not helping, right? So he says, well, what can you do is all you can do is start to wake them up. Share with them the power of now. Talk with them about what the pain body is. Talk to them about being the witness. Talk to them about the fact that they are more than all of this. And then you can start to wake people up, all right? And this is why Jesus said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Almost everyone is suffering from the illness of their mind. Varying degrees of humanity. Most people are suffering from this. But the moment you realize this, you don't resent people anymore. If you're angry at your parents for not having done something, not having said something, not having helped you in some way, they were likely unconscious. Right? They didn't have choice. They didn't know. It wasn't personal. They were living from a level of unconsciousness. All right, so if you're having those issues, realize you can't resent someone's illness. You can't resent the fact that they're not awake, that they didn't know, right? The only appropriate response is compassion. Forgive them for they do not know. Most beautiful lesson that we're going to end on because that's really the space to be. Have an open heart. Be compassionate to everybody around us because you have no idea what's stuck in them, what lenses they're seeing life through, what they're pulling in. They don't know and you don't know. All you can do is work on you. Wow, lots just came in the chat. Hang on, let me read. Marie says, this is so true because when we hold, oh, this is long. Hang on, I got to open it up. Because we don't want to feel it really makes it more painful. Then exactly what he is saying here and letting it go, feel the hurt, forgive, and move on. Letting go is healing for us. Sometimes it's a process of layers, but it's healing. Yes, and it's hope and it's freedom. Yes. Fred says, it's fascinating how my and others' reactions have changed based on my willingness to surrender. I'm thinking that's how we make a difference. It is. Be the change in the world. Be it. Be it from within. That's the only way. Right? That's why I called the program that I just launched Inner Management Mastery, because when you master your inner world, it will shift the external. Because you shift. So first of all, you start looking at the world differently. But secondly, you're a different human being. Rather than two egos meeting in a confrontation, you're just this open, receptive thing that an ego will be forced to finally just relinquish because it has nothing to fight up against. It's amazing. So I love that you're experiencing that, Fritz. All right, guys. I can't believe the power of now is over. So this will always live on my Instagram, on my Facebook, but probably the easiest is on my YouTube channel, which is just Danielle Matthews' channel. And if you go to playlists, I've got The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer. I've now got The Power of Now with Eckhart Tolle. And book club is going to continue. So if you're not already on the Telegram channel, make sure you're there because I'll probably be announcing things there. I'm going to put that in the chat here. If you need it, just message me. But I am thinking of a book that that I want to do. Has anyone heard of Michael Singer? He runs Temple of the Universe. Incredible soul. He lives about an hour from me. He's written 3 really good books, and I'm thinking about one of them that I want to do. If people have other recommendations for book club, I'm all in. I'm totally open. But I think I want to do a Mickey Singer book. And you haven't heard of him. Okay. You're going to love him. So what I'm thinking is that because the holidays are coming and it just is like a little chaotic and we have to get the book and blah, 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 why don't we start in the new year? I don't know what Monday is the first Monday or whatever, so I'll send it out in Telegram, but let's plan to start in the new year. I'll tell you the book. I'll send the link in the chat on Telegram. If you have other thoughts, like I said, totally open. But we'll do that. And yeah, in the meantime, maybe this next month, go back through and do this again. You trust my instincts, Lou. Thanks. Yeah, this was totally instinctual, and I trusted that one. This turned out to be phenomenal. I will read this book multiple times. Yeah, incredible. So, all right, guys, have a wonderful holiday. I'm sure I'll talk with all of you. If anyone is getting value from this, please share it to your profile. Tag somebody that needs to hear this. We need to help everyone wake up to this, get out of their own suffering. It will help all of humanity. And Inner Management Mastery, I know some of you went through it, and some of you are thinking about it. Just book a call with me if you've got questions. Really grateful for how that's all unfolding and just the alignment of these book clubs and what we teach there and everything. So I look forward to more with all of you. Have a beautiful, beautiful week, and I'll talk to you soon, guys. Bye.